All right, in this section we will be talking about reflexive verbs. So reflexive verbs are used when the subject of the sentence does something to or for him or herself. Right? In other words, the person doing the action is also the receiver of the action. For example, it is possible to bathe a puppy or a child, and that action is being done to somebody else. But when a person bathes oneself, then the action is considered reflexive. This idea makes more sense with some verbs than others, so study the forms below and meanings carefully. As you notice the forms of the reflexive verbs, you will find that they have a new element that other verbs haven't so far. They have what are called reflexive pronouns. So there is a table below of the reflexive pronouns, and unlike subject pronouns, the yo, tú, él, ella, etc., these reflexive pronouns must be used with the verb forms, right? So we kind of talked about how with verbs, right, that is optional because of the ending, right? So if I said yo hablo, the o at the end of hablo tells me who the subject is, and there are no other possible subjects that verb could be referring to because yo is the only form that can give that ending. Therefore, it wasn't necessary to use yo. Well, these new reflexive verbs, the reflexive pronouns associated with these particular verbs have to be used, right? They're not optional. So, and we'll see that more as we learn about them. Let's see. So also, when the verb is conjugated, right, when we give it that ending, then the reflexive pronoun comes before the verb. So, and we'll see that. And when the verb is not conjugated, right, then they will come after the verb and are attached to it. Okay? So let's take a look at some examples. Here we go. So the first one, acordarse, right, is to remember. You'll notice that some of these are also stem-changing verbs, so we've got some layers of complexity because they're reflexive and they have stem-changing, some of them, right? But if you study this table, you'll be good. So acordarse means to remember. So if we look closely, acordar ends in an AR. But we have this additional piece, se, added to it. That's the reflexive piece. So think of it as two-part. The first part is acordar, which is a verb, a stem-changing verb. And then we have this se. And the se turns into other things and can move. It can be placed before the verb or after the verb. For example, me acuerdo. Me acuerdo means I remember. No one is reminding me. I'm kind of reminding myself. I'm remembering. So I guess in that regard, it's reflexive. It's something that I'm doing to or for myself. So yo me acuerdo. Te acuerdas. Se acuerda. Nos acordamos. We remember. Se acuerdan. Acostarse is to go to bed. Me acuesto. Right? Me acuesto a las 10 de la noche. Right? So I go to bed at 10 o'clock. ¿Te acuestas? ¿A qué hora te acuestas tú? At what hour do you go to bed? ¿A qué hora te acuestas? You could answer that by saying me acuesto and then the time. ¿Se acuesta? Él or ella he or she goes to bed. Nos acostamos. Right? You get the idea. So I'm just going to run down through and say each verb and what it means and look at the yo forms. So afeitarse is to shave. I would say me afeito. Right? I shave myself. Nobody else is shaving me. I'm doing it all for myself, right? Bañarse, to take a bath. Me baño. Keep in mind, these are actions done to or for oneself. It is possible to use the verb bañar in a non-reflexive manner. If I'm bathing my child or if I'm bathing my dog, then that action is not reflexive. And in that case, I would say yo baño mi perro. Yo baño mi hijo, right? Mi niño, right? Mi bebé. But the moment that we're taking a bath or taking a shower and we're doing it to or for ourselves, it's different then. Okay? So then we say me baño. Cepillarse is to brush. Okay, that can be hair or teeth. Me cepillo. Right? Some people, instead of saying me cepillo los dientes, the teeth, they use the verb lavar, which is to wash. So some places will say me cepillo los dientes, I brush my teeth. Other places will say me lavo, which is I wash my teeth. All right? Anyway, despedirse, to say goodbye, me despido. Me despido. Notice that if it's a stem changing verb, right, remember that there is not a stem change in the nosotros form. Okay? All right, despertarse is to wake up. Me despierto. Me despierto a las 6 de la mañana. Dormirse, to fall asleep. Me duermo. Okay? Going to bed and falling asleep are two different things. So, as in English, we've got two separate verbs that mean similar but slightly different things. So, watch out for acostarse, to go to bed, versus dormirse, which is to fall asleep. Ducharse, to take a shower. Ducharse is not used primarily everywhere. Some places prefer to, in order to express taking a shower, they'll use the verb bañarse. And they'll use bañarse to express taking a bath or a shower. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Ducharse, I believe, is a bit more common in Spain. And then in Latin America, you might hear more commonly used bañarse for bath or shower. So anyway, keep that in mind. Me ducho. Enojarse is to get upset. Me enojo. Irse is to leave. Me voy. We've seen the verb ir, and ir meant to go. Notice that irse, used reflexively, is different. The difference is, when we use the verb ir, we are implying that there is a destination. When we use the verb irse, we're implying that there isn't a necessary or a specific destination. So if somebody is just leaving the house because they're angry and they walked out the door and they shut the door and you want to say that they're leaving, right, then irse would be the verb to express that. So no implied destination, ir, preferred when there is an implied destination. All right, the verb lavarse is to wash. Me lavo. You're going to see signs in the bathrooms, right? Lávese las manos, right? Me lavo las manos. So I wash my hands, right? Levantarse is to get up. Me levanto. Again, similar to some of our other verbs, but slightly different. Waking up and is different from the physical act of actually getting out of bed, for example. Okay. Llamarse, to be called. Me llamo, right? Me llamo Carlos. Me llamo Juan. Maquillarse is to put on makeup. Me maquillo. Peinarse, to comb one's hair. Me peino. Ponerse is to put on. Me pongo los zapatos. So I put on my shoes. Preocuparse is to worry. Me preocupo. Right? So I'm worried about somebody. Me preocupo por él. Probarse, stem changing verb, to try on. Me pruebo los pantalones. Right? Quedarse is to stay. Right? Maybe I'm not going on vacation. Me quedo en casa. I'm staying at home. Quitarse is to take off. Me quito los zapatos. Right? So when I get home, me quito los zapatos. Secarse is to dry off. Me seco. Sentarse is to sit down. Me siento. Right? So you may have heard someone say, siéntate. Right? Telling their child, sit down, siéntate. That's a command form. We cover basic command forms in Spanish, towards the end of Spanish 2, and perhaps even at the beginning of Spanish 3. So if you're sticking around for Spanish 2 and 3, you can anticipate command forms, bossing people around. Right? Sentirse is to feel, me siento. Vestirse is to get dressed, me visto. And finally, cambiarse de ropa is to change one's clothes, me cambio. All right, so here are some examples where we break down an action done to someone or something else versus an action done to or for one's self. Again, that example of bathing the dog, yo baño el perro, not reflexive, versus me baño, I take a bath. Ella pone el libro en la mesa, she puts the book on the table, versus ella se pone los zapatos, she puts on her shoes. Él cepilla or lava los dientes de su hija, so he brushes his daughter's teeth, versus él se cepilla or se lava los dientes, he brushes his own teeth. And the final example, ella levanta los niños, she gets the kids up in the morning, versus ella se levanta, she gets herself up, wakes up, right? Anyway, so there are some examples with that. Using that table and those examples, fill in the blanks. Watch out for any, for example, shower, we sit down, they worry. For any of these that are done to or for someone else. Seems like there's at least one in here. Maybe I'm mistaken. Anyway, watch out for any that aren't done to or for oneself. Okay. Comprehension activity and some writing. And that should be it. So that marks the end of the material. From here, we get ready for the final exam. There will be instructions on that. And so look out for that. Other than that, that's it on this one.